Hello, this is Top Prep Sports Interviews by Sunil Sunder. Today, I'm happy to be speaking with Ethan Robinson, a junior at St. Thomas of Canterbury College in Christchurch, New Zealand, and a shooting guard and point guard on the basketball team. Ethan, once again, thank you for taking time out to speak with me today. And it's great to be speaking with someone, as said, in another part of the world here in New Zealand. Can you talk about right off the bat playing basketball, as said, for St. Thomas of Canterbury College?
Uh, I just recently started playing basketball for St. Canterbury of College as I moved schools. It's been a
Okay.
great experience, super competitive environment. Every day we're all training together and making each other better. Um, we went to nationals this year and we top 20 school in New Zealand and we're all juniors. So we have a chance next year to be the top school in New Zealand, which hopefully we will be. Which just comes from us practicing really hard. So yeah.
Yeah. No, that's fantastic. Can you just describe the level of competition, is said here as well, Ethan?
Can you please repeat that? You kind of like cut out.
Oh, sorry. If you could just talk about the level of competition, said among the teams, and especially like again with the St. Thomas of Canterbury College, and just going up against other schools as well.
Yeah, so the level here is pretty high. We've had Hunter Adam, who just recently committed to Davidson, and a player called Nick Book, who just went to Oak Hill Academy in America, obviously. So the level here is it's pretty good level, really good competition. We've been able to compete against them quite a lot. I've played against them for probably the past 4 years. So I'd say the level's pretty good.
That's great to hear. Hey, when it comes to the game of basketball, I'm wondering, Ethan, what are some of the intangibles, like in terms of playing the sport? What makes it so, I guess, special and unique to play? Personally, I had to ask you about that.
Well, originally I grew up in a rugby household, so my father was
Yeah.
a professional rugby coach. So
Hmm.
I've always been around the game of rugby. And then at my primary school I went to, so in year eight, which is just before you go into high school, freshman year,
Hmm. Hmm.
the school offered basketball as a choice as we didn't have a rugby team. So I
Okay.
thought I'd do it just for a bit of fun. And I just fell in love with the game, like super fast pace, lots of scoring. It's not, you don't really have any slow moments in basketball. It's always 100 miles an hour. Everyone's
Yeah.
sprinting around.
Yeah.
The physicality side of basketball I really enjoy as well, coming from that rugby background. So
Hmm.
I just fell in love with the game, just every aspect of it, really.
Yeah. I'm wondering when that first time, I'm wondering if you could recall like taking the court, picking up a basketball and just starting out. What were those moments like for you, Ethan?
So my coach told me to go set a screen, and I didn't
Yeah.
know what a screen was. So I ended up just running straight into the player and bowling him over, which was pretty funny looking back.
Yeah.
Obviously, I wasn't allowed to do that, but yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Okay. Thank you for sharing that. Hey, you know how it is. It's a year-round process in terms of you want to be the best, at your and the fact that you play, you're not only a shooting guard but pointing guard. So just talk about, the fact of improving your fundamentals, your skills, just really staying up to date with that. I had, just I was just, curious about that part of, the game.
Yeah, well, I've been playing for 4 years, so obviously I still have a lot of learning to do. Still
Hmm.
pretty new to the game, but
Yeah.
I've always just been trying to work on my game. And the St. Thomas basketball coach, his name's Joe Hammond. He's really been there and given me all the advice I've ever asked for, just like different drills and like skills to help me progress my skills, like just doing the ball handling every single day, passing against the wall,
Yeah.
then getting my form right, shooting every single day, working on my defensive stance and just lateral quickness to make sure I'd be able to compete and then just playing well up levels. And
Yeah.
then
No, yeah. Go ahead.
yeah. Oh
Yeah,
sorry.
no, excellent points you make there. Like, because the fact that playing both the offense and defense. So let's talk about your specific, positions on the court. I mean, that's it's great to have that flexibility in terms of being, I said, a shooting and point guard. There's a lot of, again, responsibilities that come with those positions, especially the point. I mean, you're basically the quarterback of the team. I'm warning just in terms of those positions, just working, again on your craft, but just, again, as you said, just developing year after year, and the fact that in the short amount of time, you've definitely been able to pick up quite a bit on the game. But just talk about those positions specifically, Ethan.
Yeah, I love shooting, hitting threes, like just watching Stephen Curry. So obviously that was a real big thing for me.
Yeah.
So I shot 43% from three this season, and then also Victor Oladipo. I watched a lot of his older games, and I thought he was a
Mhm.
mongrel on defense. So that's
Yeah.
something I really wanted to add to my game, to really try to be real physical when I play defense.
Hmm.
And then obviously playing point guard, you got to be a really good passer. So just working on different passes, how hard I can throw the ball like
Yeah.
to my teammates and making sure they can catch it, and then recognizing where my teammates like the ball in their hands when I pass it to them, so they can get in the best scoring option available.
Yeah, no, definitely. That was one of the questions I was going to ask you. I said later in the interview, what players you definitely, try to emulate. And those are, again, outstanding players, especially, Stephen Curry. I said definitely, I mean, one of the best players, I said in the NBA, NBA champion as well, multiple times with the Golden State Warriors. And let's talk about some of the important uh, it said components in terms of strength and conditioning, nutrition, rest and recovery, mental health. Those factor in quite a bit. They're very essential in terms of, again, if you want to just be the complete player. I'm just wondering on your part, on a personal level, like, just incorporating them, how you've been able to do that these last, it said 4 or 5 years, Ethan.
Yeah, so a pretty big advantage for me has been my dad being a professional rugby coach. So he's got lots of connections. So
Yeah.
I had a mental like skills coach. His name's Jed Robinson,
Okay.
and he's really been able to help me with like dietary, making sure I get my diet right, and then my mental side of basketball. So like always
Yeah.
being locked in, and just like yeah, everything mental to come with basketball. So I think him being able to coach me and teach me all that stuff from my dad has been really beneficial to me.
Yeah.
Um, and then I also have a my own personal trainer. His name's Mike Davis. I've already been training for him for about 3 years, and he really focuses on my conditioning and strength as well. So I've been
Hmm.
doing conditioning with him for like as long as I can remember, really.
Yeah, it's fantastic to hear. I think people really underscore, you know, when you have the physical aspect, of course, of the game, but the mental part is just, again, is so critical because if you don't have that, in terms of that confidence and just, on the court, you really can get lost in the shuffle. I mean, you really can, it can really throw you off your game and basically sink you. Would you agree, said with that assessment, Ethan?
Yeah, I would. When I first started playing basketball, I had a I had really bad body language when I played basketball.
Hmm.
So obviously, I watched film, recognized it, and that's when I started talking to mental skills coach, and he's helped me come step a long way. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. No, that's great. Very good to hear. I know that you had sent some information in terms of, what the some of the traits you're looking for, in playing for, I said, a basketball team. I think this is really, so vital, and I think it goes to that you're a true student of the game. You really pick up on these new nuances because I think, for a player, this, I mean, again, this really, determines whether you have success and failure in terms of that you need that right coach in a program, someone who's not uh emotional, who's analytical, that you need that strong direction, that knowledge and conversations that will make you the best player possible. Because I think, when you're in a team huddle during a timeout on the bench, and you have the players and coaches are communicating amongst each other, especially the head coach. I mean, especially when you're like in crunch time, and especially if fourth quarter you're down, late, and you need that bucket. don't I mean, just talk about that. That really I think is key. Again, to have everyone on the same page here, Ethan.
Yeah, I really strive myself on being a great on-court leader. So I always try to make sure everyone's on the same page, every group huddle before
Mm.
big crunch time moments, making sure everyone's in the right mindset.
Yeah, I'm wondering from a player's perspective, and I'm always again curious and fascinated about this. Is that during when you're in the midst of a game, from your perspective, what you're is going through your mind, what you're seeing out on the court, because and even from like being on the bench as well. But I think more is that emphasis should be placed on during the game is that what transpires? What go? I mean, because as you said, up and down. You talk about it here in your notes with the high tempo, especially in transition play and stretching the floor. But talk about that, like from playing the game again for the past several years. What is during the game? What are those moments for you? Can you describe that, Ethan?
Well, I'm really big on like small details. So
Okay.
just like from my dad, he's obviously taught me a lot when it comes to playing sport from an analytical sense.
Hmm.
So in moments like that, I'm always thinking about the real small details to make sure I make the like perfect move. So
Yeah.
give us the best opportunity to win.
Yeah.
So just making sure I get the small details right and then trusting my instincts to make the right move.
Yeah, that's terrific. I, definitely applaud you on that. And, I love that unselfishness on your part, because a lot of people, they say, feed me the ball, I said, I want to be the guy. But, the fact that you're willing to dish the ball, willing to, find the open man, I think, because when it really comes down to it's a team game, all five guys, as you said, on that court got to be in sync, in terms of, again, if you want to be successful, you want to win games. That's really what it comes down to, the nuts and bolts of it, Ethan.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, no, that's great. As you said, you come from a strong rugby background. Both your parents, and then your dad being a professional rugby coach. I'm wondering, you might have answered, sorry, but just how that has shaped you as an athlete. From early on. I mean, those are great, of course, role models and mentors to have in your parents. Can you just again, you know, explain to the people out there how much that is meant to you?
Well, growing up, I traveled around the world a lot, so I've always got to see what excellence looks like from elite rugby players. So
Hmm.
that's something I've always wanted to emulate when it comes to basketball, making sure I'm doing everything I can to be an elite basketball player in every
Yeah.
aspect. Um, so yeah, just being able to see what true elite looks like at a professional level and like behind the scenes, just how hard they've worked their whole lives.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm wondering, like, because you see rugby as being a very the popular sport now. From your take, in your opinion, like, what do you see? Where do you see basketball fitting into this equation in terms of the rise in the game? And of course, it is a global game, which is just, I think that is awesome. I mean, to see that, and obviously, of course, college, NBA over here in America, you see so many international athletes. How cool is that to be a part of that movement, to see again, sports, and the game of basketball. I mean, it just I'm sure that's something that really does resonate with you, Ethan.
Yeah, it does. I mean, it's really amazing. Basketball is the number one growing sport in New Zealand and Australia, so it's really
Mhm.
amazing to be a part of that.
Yeah, and I don't want to forget also on the Olympic stage as well. I mean that, and then of course, uh, say with the qualifiers as well for the Olympics. As we know, it's just not being an athlete; it's being a student athlete. Ethan, I'm wondering, like, just for you, how everybody talks about time management and organization. How have you been able to balance that out? Because it's not easy. You described before. I mean, watching film, you got practices, you have games, you got travel. There's so much involved in it. I'm wondering, like, just how you've been able to, really focus in on that and just, excel.
Yeah, at first it was extremely difficult for me, but I sat down with my dad because he knows the ins and outs. So I asked him, how can I
Hmm.
manage my time better? And we put together a spreadsheet.
Okay.
And so basically it just lists how much time I've like slotted in for each day when it comes to training, study, film, and then it's got dietary needs, and then just anything extra, and then all my excess time at the end of that, pushing
Hmm.
weights, like yeah, just everything. So that's really been able to help me make sure I can manage my time better.
Yeah, no, that's fabulous. Hey, I wanted to ask you about this social media highlight videos. I know that's something you definitely have tapped into, and I've asked many athletes because I think what to get your name out there, to showcase your skills, what you can do out on the court. I mean, people have been of course uploaded their practice and training sessions as well. I had to ask you. I'm sure that really is pivotal in terms of developing and just again opening up that world and just allowing people into it and seeing what you can do on the court. Can you just again describe that and talk about that part as well?
Yeah, well, I think that's a really big part of it, especially coming from a foreign country, not being in America. Coaches over there can't see me play. So
Hmm.
making sure I put together highlight reels every so often and send them to as many coaches as I can. I just think it's really important because I need coaches to know I'm getting better all the time. I'm working really hard. I'm playing all the time.
Yeah.
Because without them, I just don't know if I'd be able to have contact with all those coaches.
Yeah, no, well said. Hey, something popped into my head, and just in terms of the basketball courts, facilities, because they play an important factor as well. I had to ask you about that, like just over there in New Zealand as well. Um, you know, could you let people know out there here in America and across, like just in terms of how that is improved over the years as well in New Zealand?
Yeah, it's been massive. Like schools are putting way more money into upgrading their courts now. So quite a lot
Hmm.
of schools in Christchurch have rebuilt their like gyms, etc. So our basketball courts are like looking really good now. They're like just amazing to play on.
Yeah, no, that's outstanding to hear. Hey, you talked about your family, and you come from again, an athletic family, I said starting, of course, with your parents, but let's talk about your siblings. I said your eldest brother you talked about, who also was a rugby player, but now is an elite surfer. Your younger brother plays sports. You informed that your sisters didn't take up any sports, but are excelling in the classroom. So talk about that. How, to be able to relate to your siblings and have those conversations, over sports. And of course, you're in basketball, but I'm wondering how that has worked out. That's got to be again very special, like in terms of being able to talk with them, just about your experiences on the hardwood court as well.
Yeah, well, I think the best part is we're all super competitive with each other. So
Hmm.
we could not like just be playing soccer in the backyard and we'll make it super competitive because we always want to compete with each other just because we all come from, well, like we've just been raised that way. So my
Yeah.
oldest brother, really good surfer, um, really elite surfer when, especially when he was younger. So
Hmm.
he's been able to taught me surfing because when I was younger, that's what another thing I really enjoyed doing. It's one of my hobbies.
Hmm.
So yeah, just being able to compete with him and that, and then he really loves basketball as well. So he always tries to play me one on one, but he can
Yeah.
never beat me. So
That's great. Hey, I like that. The fact that you have hobbies where you can really kick back, you can de-stress, because there is so much pressure, and how competitive it is, in terms of playing basketball, but then also the rigors of academics as well. And that's great. I mean, the fact that you love skateboarding, surfing, mountain biking, rugby, going to Bible study and hanging out with family and friends. So there's so much to unpack there, but the fact that you have so many hobbies that you really can again focus in on, and that's got to feel good in those moments. You really can, just take a deep breath and just, be able to focus in on them. But just talk about that. I mean, because I'm sure it brings a lot of freedom just in terms of that on, the athletics side of it. Just talk about that as well, Ethan.
yeah, I think it's really good to have a good balance of working really hard, and then having time to yourself and being able to relax. Because if you're always
Hmm.
working too hard, eventually you're gonna get injured or something, and then you're not gonna have anything that you enjoy doing. So I think
Yeah.
having your hobbies is like a super important. And I think it's really been important to me Because my hobbies is kind of how I connect with my family the most,
Hmm.
just like in the sporting background as well. So
Yeah,
yeah, I think hobbies and just having a balance is really important.
that's wonderful. Hey, I wanted to dive into this. You talked about your dreams and goals to be the greatest college basketball player you can be, and to have your number, said hung in the rafters in whatever program you go to. And I know most important is getting your degree with honors and then ultimately playing professional basketball. I mean that those are great. I just had to ask you, I mean, because I think it's really to set the bar high, and I think you want to do that because just talk about that. I mean, to have those aspirations, and then again try to meet them. I mean, it's a challenge, but you're willing to take that on. Just describe that, Ethan.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I know you have to work super hard to achieve any of your goals,
Hmm.
but I've just been grown up in a household where I know what hard work looks like just watching other professional rugby players. So
Yeah,
I just want to keep working hard and making sure I can push myself to the limits every single day so I can become as close to that goal as possible.
yeah.
I don't like saying dreams as such because I don't know. I feel like if you have goals, that's just like more realistic kind of thing. Well,
Hmm.
obviously, yeah, but I just like pushing myself towards my goals, making
Yeah.
sure I'll be able to achieve them one day.
Yeah, no, that's again, that's terrific. Hey, I wanted to ask you quickly just about St. Thomas of Canterbury College in terms of, I guess, the administration, athletics, even like the students there, the support that the basketball team and you have received from them, because I think that's important as well. That that really, in terms of that structure, like from top to bottom, if again, if you want to have a successful program, just talk about that as well, Ethan.
Yeah, well, the school is to me, I find it like a brotherhood. So it's an all boys school, St. Thomas, and
Okay.
everyone there, like no matter what sport it is, we're all super supportive of each other. So the whole
Mhm.
school goes down to watch the rugby games, basketball games, soccer games, just whatever it is. We all go down to watch and support each other. Make heaps of noise in the stands to show our
Yeah.
love for our brothers at the school. So yeah, I think that's really important. That having the school behind your back, it helps you just play better and want to work harder for them.
Yeah, no, that's a great point you made because we see it here in America that that student body when they voice their opinion, like they're rooting you guys on. It's just like you get extra kick, that adrenaline rush. I'm sure it kicks in for you, and like you feed off that. So that's important. And talk about the community as well. I think a lot of people. I mean that's just again as essential. Uh, can you just the people around, said the town, like, just in terms of supporting the teams and the basketball, especially in the school as well.
Yeah, well, we obviously we went to this was our first ever year going to nationals for New Zealand basketball this year.
Okay.
So the school really got behind us and helped us with fundraising, making sure like students would come down and support us at our fundraisings and just
Hmm.
contribute any money possible. And then we had assemblies about it, so the students could stay up to date. We live streamed our games for them so they could watch us play, and they were always cheering us on. Like after every single game, they'd text
Yeah.
us and be like, "We're so proud of you, boys." They gave us a haka before we left as well, which is a New Zealand Māori tradition.
Okay.
So that was really emotional for us, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's just a real community. Like we're all basically just brothers at the school. So yeah.
That's amazing. That's I'm so happy to hear that. Before we get the final word, Ethan, I think you're in a great spot here. I just again so impressed just the way you presented yourself. Dressed. Just again, assuming tight. Just nothing but I said the utmost respect for you. What your message for younger kids and athletes out there? Again, and we talk about how much again pressure, competitiveness of athletics, academics. What would you say to them if they're trying to find their way, trying to succeed in sports, move up that ladder because it's not easy to do so. If they're watching this, any advice or message you would give to them.
I'd just say no matter what, no matter how many times you get pushed down, just keep getting back up and keep fighting because you're going to face adversity in your life and you never know what it may be or how extreme it may be. But if you keep going, keep working hard every single day, it's going to get better, obviously. And then you can always just push yourself, get to where you want to be. And it's going to be, you'll just feel amazing. Like just even making a sports team is an achievement within itself. And then once you've made that sport team, like that's just like I don't know, if you're a basketball team, that's like 12 brothers with you, and then you just want to keep working harder and harder and harder. But yeah, I just say the biggest thing for younger athletes is just keep working hard no matter what.
Yeah, no, just sound advice, I said for those younger kids and athletes out there. Hey, Ethan, you get the final word and message here for family, friends, teammates, coaches at St. Thomas of Canterbury College, the student body administration and athletic department community. I know that's a lot to, I said, ask out of you, but, just, I wanted to give you the floor just, in terms of what you wanted to say to them.
Just wanted to say a special thanks to Joe Hammond, Jack Williamson, Fraser Costley, Ben Constable, Josh Thompson, Mike Davis, and Jed Robinson. They've always had my back no matter what I've gone through. I've always been able to talk to them. If I didn't make a team, they'd always be there like, okay, and let's go work out next morning, like 5 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, whatever time you want to be there. I'll be there to make sure you can get better and keep developing your skills. So a massive thanks to them and thanks to my family for like my dad especially being able to help me with every aspect of my life and especially of sport.
Well said. Hey, Ethan, just an incredible honor and privilege, being able to speak with you. Congrats on your success. I know there's more, for you to achieve here, said years to come. And again, can't wait to see, what you do, said from this point on.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed the interview. Thank you.
Thank you.